Hello，你好，Welcome back，欢迎回来to Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger on April 21st, 2021. Beautiful day outside, and being out and about doing some house chores and take Tiger out on a leash for a walk. Uh, so I just came back in and going to talk to you guys about the Imperial court system of ancient China. Recently, I believe a lot of us have been paying attention to the Derek Chauvin trial, the killing of George Floyd, and that makes me think of how a lot of time in modern society, all these court procedures and all these ins and outs and with juries and lawyers and prosecutors and all this evidence gathering, it's so much different than how the things used to be, especially how things used to be in China. Now, I'm not going to give you every little detail about how the court system used to be in Chinese history because that would take really, really, really long. But I'm just going to give you some of the more interesting facts about how it used to be when Chinese people were taken to court and have to appear in court and were sued, or when you were suing people. There's an old Chinese say that says 六扇门中好修行，六扇门中好修行. It translates to karma is easy to accumulate when you work behind the six gates. Six gates. What are the six gates? The six gates was the old Chinese courthouse. An old Chinese courthouse was said to have six gates. And only four of these gates uh, would be used most of the time. For sometimes when people come to court, they might enter from the east. Sometimes people come to court, they might enter from the west, depending on the case being uh, dealt with and what was going on, and etc. etc. But there were two gates, the Dragon Gate and the Tiger Gate, that was mostly kept closed, and the Dragon Gate would only be used if a higher ranking official or a higher authority like the emperor or the minister or some other high ranking officials was visiting. That's when the Dragon Gate is open and they get to enter through the Dragon Gate into the courthouse. The Tiger Gate are only open to let uh, people who were to be executed out when they were on their way to where the execution was to be carried out. So the Tiger Gate was also called the Death Gate. That gate is always shut and only open when there's someone on death row was to go through it uh, on their final journey to the execution ground. In front of the courthouse, there was always a big drum. Hmm? I don't have a drum here, but we'll just take this cardboard box. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a drum, but anyway. So in front of the courthouse, there was always a big drum. Right? If you wanted to go to court to sue somebody or to report a crime, you could either go and knock on the door and the go through the proper channel. So the people at the door would ask you what you're here for, and you say, "I want to see the magistrate. I want to see His Honor, the magistrate. I have a crime to report." or I want to sue somebody. Now, this is a difficult situation because most of the time, the person at the door is going to tell you the magistrate is not here today, come back tomorrow. And then you come back tomorrow. The person at the gate said, the magistrate just went out, come back later. All the while, the magistrate is actually there, but because you didn't grease the wheel, you didn't give uh, something to the door guard, he or she wouldn't want to run all the way into the courtroom to let the magistrate know there's someone outside. Of course, that's not always the case, but quite often you will run into situations like that. So you have to go through a lot of people before you actually get to talk to the magistrate. You got to go through the door guard. The door guard got to report it to his superior, his supervisor. His supervisor got to go talk to the magistrate's secretary, and the minister or magistrate secretary got to finally talk to the magistrate. And all these people, any one of them, any one of these states, have the power to get you stuck there for days. Uh, just telling you that the magistrate is busy, the magistrate is sick, the magistrate is not in town, yada yada yada. So if you have sufficient money or connection, let's say you are a friend with these people, then go ahead. You knock on the door and say, I want to see the magistrate. And within 30 minutes, you get to go in and see the magistrate. But for people that didn't have the money or didn't have the connection, they either have to suffer out there and finally uh, wait until the door guard or the secretary got tired of being pestered every day and finally let them see the magistrate, or they use the drum, a big drum in front of the courthouse. Anytime that you feel you have sufficient reason, you pick up the drumstick. I have a drumstick by the drum. I don't have one right now, so I'm just going to use my hand. And you just go outside the courthouse and start beating on that drum. You just keep that up until the magistrate get tired of you and tell someone to come and fetch you, and you get to go in to see the magistrate. Now, some people is going to ask, so why don't people just do that? That seems like a much quicker way and saves the money. Because when you do that, when you use the drum, and uh, if your case turn out to be very trivial, or if the magistrate just want to be a jerk about it, and he's going to say you disturbed his rest for something really stupid, or he's going to throw your case out of court. In any case where your reason is deemed not sufficient by the magistrate, then you get punished. We're going to talk about punishment in a little bit, but you will get punished. So it is not something that you want to do lightly. You need to uh, be prepared in your mind that you beat on that drum, you might annoy the magistrate, and the magistrate may be a jerk about things and decide to punish you when you go in there. Depending on the nature of the case, um, there's a little bit of a different process. If your case is going by modern term, would be something uh, like murder or criminal. Like if it's a criminal offense, let's say someone murdered someone, or someone uh, caught a thief or stuff like that. The more obvious criminal related uh, crimes. Then when you go into court, basically this is what's going to happen. Um, the magistrate will ask you, what's going on, and you say, well, I saw so and so kill his wife, or my wife was cheating on me with so and so, and I caught them red-handed, and the magistrate will call the other party in, and he wouldn't ask them anything at this stage. The magistrate will tell them, okay, this is what's going on. Someone accused you of committing a serious crime, like adultery or rape or murder. You have been accused. And then the magistrate would tell the guard, take them away, lock them up. And then they, the person, the people, or the party being accused is then put in a cell for 24 hours. The magistrate is not going to ask you anything. He's not going to ask them anything. The magistrate is going to say, "Court adjourned. Go home and come back tomorrow." So what's going on here? Why is he doing that? Why is he holding the accused for 24 hours without asking anything? Officially, the official explanation is this is the 24 hours where the magistrate sent his guards, his detectives, his people out to gather evidence to see who's right and who's wrong. But the real reason is this 24 hours is the chance for the magistrate to accept bribe. Okay, so even if you are the person suing the other side, even if they did commit a crime, this is a, within this 24 hours, you need to try to bring gift, not just to the magistrate, but to the guards, to the detectives, to everyone that's somebody, anybody that's somebody in the court system. Same with the other side. The accused, now locked in the cell, has a chance, they'll be given a chance to say or talk to their family. And within this 24 hours, their family will do their best to bribe the heck out of the magistrate. Usually, a magistrate during one of these cases can make almost 10 times the amount of money that they will get than their regular salary. So whoever bribed them the most, uh, it depends on the magistrate. Okay, two things may happen. Two things may happen. One is the magistrate is not a very good person. Is not a very just or honest person. So he's going to next day when you come back to court and the accused is brought out of his or her cell, the magistrate will announce, okay, my people have gathered enough evidence, and it turned out whoever, he's going to say whoever bribed him the most is the party in the right, and then the party that didn't bribe him enough will get punished. That's the first possibility. The second possibility, happened more rare, but it did happen, was if the magistrate turned out to be a very just and honest person, then he would actually get his guards to investigate the party that tried to bribe him the most. Because he is going to figure that, well, if you feel that right is on your side, if you feel that you are right, then why are you trying to bribe me? Obviously, you're trying to bribe me so heavily because you did something wrong. So sometimes it can turn the other way. The magistrate may actually target the side that bribed them the most. So it is a bit of a catch-22. So back then in ancient China, before you go ahead and do all this bribing, you don't want to bribe the magistrate first. You want to bribe the people that work for him first. So they will tell you what kind of person this magistrate is. So for example, rather than bribing the magistrate, you want to uh, give a couple of silver to the cook or to the maid, and then the cook or the maid or the housekeeper can tell you, oh, don't bother bribing the magistrate. He is a very honest man, and if you try to bribe him, it's just going to work against you. Or the maid is going to tell you, the magistrate is very greedy person, so you better give him a lot of money, otherwise you're not going to get anywhere with your case. That is for criminal cases. Now, for civil lawsuit, you get even more ridiculous. For civil lawsuit, the person who is suing, let's say you're suing your neighbor for being a jerk. Let's say you're suing your neighbor because their horses are always crapping in your yard, or their dogs are always barking at you, something like that. The person who gets sued, or the person who is doing the suing, will get punished right off the bat first. And before they would even look at your case, you will get punished. Why? Because they believe in the old days that if there's no consequences, then people are going to just try to sue each other for no good reason whatsoever. But if you have to suffer punishment first, then you are going to think twice. Is it worth it to sue my neighbor if I'm going to get punished and get whipped or stuff like that first? Uh, Quite a smart system, actually. I mean, it was inhumane, but definitely quite a smart system. So, now that you are in court, you bribed the right people, you suffered the punishment, and now the case is actually progressing. What is going to happen? Well, they had people who worked for the magistrate, like detectives and guards, that will go out there and try to collect evidence and verify what you said and stuff like that. And they have to report back. And the magistrate always had a few um, secretaries. Officially, they were secretaries, but most of the time they were people that would help him brainstorm uh, what's going on. They were his sounding board, and sometimes there would be his advisors that would advise him on what's the best course to do, how to best proceed. So most of that is very mundane stuff, gathering evidence and presenting them to the magistrate, and the magistrate have to talk it over with his advisors and secretaries. So we don't have to linger on that too much. Now, after after someone is sentenced, let's say you were found in the wrong, what would happen to you? Uh, or let's say the person being accused is not going to fess up. They refuse to confess. What's going to happen? And there's not enough evidence to be found. Well, back then they did not shy away from physical punishment. And now, today I'm going to show you guys three most traditional, most common things that they would do to people in the court in ancient China. First, the most common is they have someone with a big stick, usually two of they would have one person on each side of the person who's going to be punished. Each one would be armed with a stick like this. Okay? They would drag you down to the front of uh, the magistrate and put you down on the ground, pull down your pants, flip you on your belly, and beat your butt. Beat you. They literally beat your butt with sticks like this. Well, they were a lot longer than this, but this is like the closest thing I have to something like that. This rolling pin. Um, they would actually beat your butt with something like this. Like I said, if you are suing your neighbor uh, for some civil matters, before they even take the case, the magistrate is said, okay, Johnny is suing Peter for stealing his chicken. Uh, Johnny has to uh, suffer 10 uh, lashes or 10 spanks or 10 smacks on the butt or 20 smacks on the butt. Now, some people say this doesn't sound too bad. I mean, depending on your orientation might even be enjoyable. Believe me, it wasn't. Not that I have tried it, but you're talking about someone, a very muscular guard, armed with a heavy ass stick, like as big around as this rolling pin, and probably twice as long. And in those sticks were specially treated. Most of the time, they are ingested, that they're filled with lead on the business end, and or mercury to make them super heavy on the business end. Okay? So getting hit by something like this 10 times, 20 times as hard as they could on your butt, you wouldn't be able to walk for at least 2 weeks after that. That's even if they don't break any bones, they're going to break skins, leave some nasty scars on your butt, and you wouldn't be able to sit down, lay down, walk properly for a long time. There have been a lot of cases where the magistrate uh, sentenced the person to be beaten on the butt 80 times or 100 times, and literally killed the person right there in the courtroom just from the beating. You know. So, yeah, the beating on the butt sounds ridiculous, but it was no joke. This is where another form of bribery became very useful. Sometimes people started to bribe the guard who carry out the beating. If they think there's a chance for them that they're going to get beaten, they will bribe the guard ahead of time. So when the magistrate said, uh, beat him on the butt 20 times, the guard will do something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, really fast. Like he's actually counting faster than he's moving his arm. Okay, the magistrate usually will ignore that's going on because everyone knows the bribery is just normal in the courtroom. Magistrate take bribe too. So uh, now if you don't bribe the guard, or if the guard is in a bad mood, or if the guard just hate you for some reason, then it can be something really ridiculous. Now they can turn it around. They can do the other way. So rather than doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? For those of you that can't see, I'm counting really fast, but my stick is actually only moving like two or three times. So going by my count, I'm hitting 10 times, but I only actually hit the person like 3 times. I really light. But if if the guard is not happy, if the guard is not bribed or is not happy with the person, they will go the other way. They'll go something like one, 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 two, two, three, three, four, four. Sorry, magistrate, I forgot. I lost count. Let's start over. One, two. They can do it like that. And again, the magistrate knows what's going on, but they just ignore it. They just pretend that they don't see it, right? So being in a court system back then is really scary. Like if you offend the wrong person, you didn't bribe the right people, you can suffer a lot of needless torture. So beating on the butt is the most common form of punishment and torture. They will use this for sentencing. Uh, Johnny has been found guilty and he's sentenced to be beaten 80 times on the butt, and it has to be carried out today. Again, if you give them the right amount of bribe, they will say 80 beaten 80 times, but only twice a day. You only have to do 2 beating a day, so you can do an installment. That's a lot easier. They will use the beating to uh, force you to confess. Did you or did you not kill blah blah blah? You say you didn't. Okay, let's beat him 20 times on the butt. After 20 times, bring you back and let you put your pants back on. And the magistrate asks you, did you not kill blah blah blah? If you still say no, okay, beat him 30 times this time. and they'll keep that up until you confess. Right? So beating you on the butt with a big stick, that was the first form of punishment. The second form of punishment, let's say some people are really that hardcore. Some people are really out, and sometimes you have outlaws, martial art experts, soldiers that they committed atrocious crime, but they were really hardcore. They didn't mind getting beat. It didn't face them. Okay, then we bring out something even worse. We bring out the leg torture. What is the leg torture? It's something like imagine a giant nutcracker like the one I have in my hand, where you have a platform on the bottom. So you would lay the prisoner's leg, put the leg on top of the platform, and then you grab the top arm of the wooden device and then you smack it down. So the leg gets squished between these two pieces of wood. They won't. They'll try not to break your leg, but sometimes they will. But even if they don't break your leg, it's extremely painful, especially if they just crank it down. They get your leg between. Imagine my thumb is a person's leg, and then they put the top part down, and they just keep squishing in. They'll do that until you confess, or until you pass out, and then they wake you up and continue the trial. Now, interestingly enough, they had a third form of torture for women because people back then decided that you know taking taking a woman's pants down in public, beat her on the butt, just not right. Even in those days, they decided that wasn't right. So what they would do, and they didn't want to do the leg thing to women, uh, because again, women back then mostly wore dresses. Women didn't wear pants back then, really. So if you wanted to do the leg torture, you would have to get them to expose their leg, which would be a whole set of other taboo. So they invented a third kind of torture called the finger torture. I actually didn't have anything suitable, so I had to make something that looked like it. So in my hand, I have four chopsticks tied together. And so what they would do, imagine these were bamboo sticks as thick as three of your fingers together. So they would have a series of bamboo sticks like these chopsticks, and then they would thread them through your finger. So you would have one finger in between each of them, like this. So one chopstick is between my index finger and middle finger. The other one is between my middle finger and ring finger. The next one between my ring finger and pinky finger. So once they get your finger secure between these bamboo sticks, they tie a rope on the other end and then start cinching it tight, getting it tight. Like even for me, when I start squeezing this, it starts to hurt like crazy. It's just crazy kind of torture. So they would get your hand in a device like this, and then they start squashing your finger between these bamboo sticks, and keep tightening it until you confess to your crime. Those were the three most common, most popular torture and punishment in the Chinese court system back then. Now, next Wisdom Wednesday, we are going to continue this and talk about okay, now that you have confessed, now that you have signed. By the way, back then, because a lot of people didn't know how to write, even their signature. So when you confess, what they do is they take your hand and put your hand in a big jar of ink, and then take your hand and they show you this is all the things that you're accused of. Johnny were accused of murdering, blah, 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 at this date, that date, and Johnny has confessed on this date without being forced, and he is of sound mind, and yada, yada, yada. And then they take your hand that is dipped in the ink, and then they do your handprint on the bottom of that parchment, and that would be it. That would seal the case. The case is over after you do that. After they get your handprint on the paper, you're taken away, put in jail to await sentences. So next week we're going to come back and talk more about the sentences and the old Chinese executions and all the customs and uh, traditions around those topics. I hope that this has not been too gruesome for you guys and at least give you guys a interesting and kind of a refreshing view of what kind of things people had to go through in the old days when they wanted to go to court with each other. Thank you for checking out today's Wisdom Wednesday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Toy Thursday. For now, have a good day and 再见.